Okay, great. We are in, it's all happening. So welcome to the Berkeley Alembic Zoom room. We're going to do a somatic inquiry practice today and take everything at your own desire, sensation, with your own wisdom. You're welcome to do anything, not do anything. It's really up to you. It's just an invitation to go in. So any inquiry practice that we're doing isn't about knowing the answer. It's about being in the unknown and exploring in the uncertainty. And I feel like what these practices ultimately do, or what even meditation does, is it builds capacity. It builds capacity for us to engage with our life. So I'm going to use some breaths. We might actually do a few little breath holds, but Bonnie, take it really easy on those. Sherry, it depends on how it is for you. We'll do small ones, like maybe triangle breathing with the hold on the up or one on the down, which I will explain. I'm really excited because I drank too much coffee this morning. So I'm kind of upregulated myself. But I wanted to talk about this idea of building capacity as we come in for a landing in ourselves. When I'm saying building capacity, I mean that we're building capacity for our nervous system to handle more upregulation and also deeper downregulation. So our autonomic nervous system, our parasympathetic and sympathetic, one is fight, flight, freeze, and the other is rest and digest, soothe and settle. That's where we process everything. So one is the processing, the composting, the nourishing, and the other is the taking it in, taking it on out in the world. And when we work with these practices so that we can handle what's happening in our body, we can take in the pleasure or we can be with the pain. And it's not that the pain's going to get stuck there. It's just that we can allow things to move through. We can allow our emotions, our experience of being to not just lock into our bodies, but to move through our bodies. So we're inviting in with the micro movement, with the breath practices, with the sounding practices, this sense of sort of growing and shrinking with the breath, opening up, coming back into ourselves, being in the outer world, being in the inner world. So let's start today, coming in for a landing with the theta breath. Patty has popped in too. Hey, Patty. We're just coming in for a landing. We're going to use theta breath. And this class is really about building capacity to upregulate more and to downregulate more. And it doesn't mean you have to go to your edges ever. We're just coming into the inner space and seeing if we can create more flow, right? If there's flow, then things are moving through us. It's not blocked, right? It's the opposite of being blocked. So tuning to flow. And we're going to use the theta breath. This is Lord Gaylord, the large one. He's going to join us maybe for a minute. The theta breath is a very soft hissing sound. It's like the steam gently releasing from a radiator, or your tongue gently behind your teeth, softly letting out the sound, the hiss. And it will extend the exhale, so that's a natural down regulator. And you don't want to try and make it last for as long as possible. Just let it last as long as it feels comfortable in your own system. So we'll do that for a couple of minutes, allowing ourselves to come into relationship with that sound and see how it lands in our body. As I send a link to somebody, because they So we want to think that we're allowing movement to happen as well, right? As we're allowing the sense of flow to come on and in into the physical sensation in our body, we're allowing movement. So maybe there's some unexpressed little motions in your body that we've learned to inhibit. So we just want to say, okay, I'm going to let go of my holding and just allow movement in any way. It could be very small, could just be the movement of the breath, or it could also be more whole body. So it might be, we could say postural, like in the movement of your spine, or gestural in the movement of your fingers or your toes or your face. So inviting in the breath and then allowing that soft release and inviting in any micro movement that wants to come in. Allowing our down regulation to go deeper, right? Allowing our down regulation to be like, oh, I can actually relax more. I can rest more. And then even as we breathe in, allowing our presence in the world to also grow. And often we think of the autonomic nervous system like the parasympathetic and the sympathetic as sort of inhibiting each other. But what I'm inviting, especially into my system now, since I am pretty caffeinated, is can I find this smoothness and this ease, even in my very upregulated state? Can I find some depth? So I'm changing the ratios of capacity for my balance in upregulation and downregulation. And that, whoa, they might both be happening at the same time on sort of different energetic fields, different levels. So inviting yourself to play with that and also to bring in this idea of like, I'm moving in the space around me, right? My body is moving. But inviting in this idea of the support of that three-dimensional space, right? The support of the space that if I move in this space, the space hasn't changed. It's still the space. It's me moving in the space. So just inviting in this sort of non-dual idea of spaciousness, which is internal and external at the same time. And as I soften and tune into that sense of flow inside my body, I'm inviting this spaciousness that has this sort of natural breath going on, this natural opening and coming back to itself, filling up and letting go, right? So it's almost kind of like, this is a weird image, but oh, cat activities. Sorry. Oh my God, they're hilarious. This is the other cat, Squeaky Beaky, right? Ripples on the ocean of awareness. Sometimes they're waves. One cat just took a really crazy jump over the top of a chair and landed on the other one. Ah, that's some nice upregulation for the moment. But it's almost like you're a big ocean sponge and you're moving. So the water is shifting around inside of you, and there's, spaces in those spongy pockets that keep shifting and changing. And if we looked inside of our bodies, a lot of it, even like inside the bones, some of it's very sort of spongy looking. The way our fascia connects, very spongy. So we're just going to breathe into that. Let's do some more theta breath with the image of squishing around the fluids, the air inside our bodies, and just creating space. And allowing your body to take up space, right? Shifting the relationship with space so that it is a relationship, so that there is a awareness of like, oh, I'm dancing with this space. I have a partnership with this space. whether it's outside or inside. So I'm going to add a few more sounds. So the gentle hiss, and then a shh. So like a mama quieting the baby, shh. Very gentle, very soft, shh. And then a ha, like sha, just to create a little bit more vibration in my tissue, right? Anytime we're using that vocal cord, it's going to vibrate our tissues more. And we can think of these vibrations as like a single drop in water. You can see how one single drop in still water ripples all the way out, right? So the sound in our body is also going to have that kind of effect on our tissues, like this capacity to ripple out. So with the sh, ha, those ha's are a little capacity to upregulate, to take up more sound space, more auditory space, and then more vibration in your body. If it feels uncomfortable to actually vocalize, just do a ha without the vocal cords. That's still going to work in that sense of spaciousness. So building capacity for upregulation, for downregulation with these shifts and changes in sound. You may find that there's something that you really are into and you want to stick with that for a while. Absolutely. Feel free to do that. So letting this practice really work for you. Ha. Ah. Letting it be playful. Don't take yourself too seriously. And feeling like what the density of each of those sounds does in your body. Even the density of my throat to make those sounds, or my tongue shifts around. So feeling into that, letting that be a play, playing with the different inviting in the kind of fantastical, magical realms that those breath sounds can evoke. Or just the very earthy realms, like it could be like water rushing or the air, right? It doesn't have to be fantastical Disney imagery. It can be anything. Giving yourself complete freedom to move in any way that feels good. You could be laying down. You could be in a quadruped position. Letting the qualities of your movement play dynamic. So one thing in the work of the continuum work of Emily Conrad, and a lot of my work is really inspired by her work, one of the ideas is that in order to keep finding depth or new experience, you've got to keep shifting the pattern. So one thing to do is once you notice that you've found a pattern, shift it around, change the space, change the tempo, so that we're always refreshing kind of in a new stream of experience. We're not locking into the old stream and our old thought patterns and our old crusty parts. We're going, what happens if I slough this off? Because we do have to build capacity for the good. Sometimes things are too exciting and we find ways to bring ourselves down. I'm going to have a glass of wine because I'm too excited. Like we don't have such good skills with the good high upregulation, right? So we're just building that capacity by finding different ways of traveling through that landscape of upregulation and downregulation. So without actually doing any kind of really organized breath practice, what I'm going to offer is that maybe every once in a while, hold your breath on an inhale for however long it feels good. That'll be more upregulating. And then every once in a while, hold your breath on the exhale. Doesn't have to be, it could be 5 seconds, it could be 30 seconds, however long it feels good to you. But allowing yourself not to force your system into something, but allowing it to play with something as long as it's still interesting. So, like, holding in the up space. You can even take in a sniff and take more. Letting it go whenever it feels good, having a few breaths. And then another one to try is take your time on the exhale, but when you get it all out, hang out in that space for a little while in the exhale. We're not trying to make ourselves pass out or do anything like that. We're not going extreme or get into that like lobster claw tetany. We're just trying to feel these places a little bit. What is it when I'm up there and I'm holding? What is it when I'm down there? When I'm on the exhale, just hanging out in that long exhale and then hanging out in that spacious emptiness of the empty breath. It's not a competition with anyone, and it's not even a competition with yourself. It's a collaboration. It's a symbiotic relationship with yourself in the space. So I am going to give us some music. I see that there's a cat that is about to walk in front of the cat that got ejected from the chair is now finding places to be that are dangerously close to the computer, which of course I find intensely hilarious. All right, so I'm sharing sound. This is going to be the music of Jeff Gersh. Let the sound take over for you. Let it give you the ride. So the sound can be like the map, and your movement just has the freedom to go wherever it wants. Riding that map, like letting go of any crusty stickiness. And maybe this becomes emotional or personal, but a lot of times I feel like just the movement, letting the body move through its stuff can kind of clear out a lot of stuckness, a lot of patterning that maybe you don't want to deal with on a really personal level. What's more personal than moving? So this is Ambient Fields, Olafsfjordur, and the song is called Day 13. So I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. Letting yourself move with it in any way. Maybe interesting at some point to actually like make contact with yourself, like to find different ways of connecting to yourself or comfortable, like soothing ways to connect to yourself. going to give us like 5 more minutes to move in our own silence, maybe with your own sounds or whatever sounds come out of my mouth, but just letting yourself process, taking in anything that came up. Sometimes it's all just learning, right? And it's not learning that we have to grasp onto and hold onto and stuff into our pocket to save forever. It's just learning in this moment. And then trusting the intelligence of our own body, that it knows. We don't need to do all the knowing up in our head. We can let some of the knowing reside in the moment, in our body. Just offering yourself the invitation to release any tension that is not serving you, to let go of anything that is unhelpful in the moment. It might even be your own resistance to something, or maybe it's an old crusty image of yourself or someone else that isn't serving. Inviting it to just melt away, letting the body and the space compost whatever that old crusty stuff is. So if you're out there in TV land, I am going to stop the recording or the live stream. If you want to join this, it's on the Alembic Zoom, and you can find that through the Alembics Eventbrite or the Alembics website.